There's a little bit of a dance right now happening as these tariffs have been threatened by the president-elect. Your reaction?
Well, she's relatively new. Chairman Michael McCall and I went down with him to Mexico, Codell, back in February. And we actually met with her and her opponent. They had two women running for president, going to make history in Mexico's first woman president. So she's kind of changed her tune since then. She seemed very willing to help back then.
In this clip, Donald Trump's border wall and broader strategies to protect the U.S. from illegal immigration take center stage. The discussion dives into tariffs, Mexico's changing stance under its first female president, energy independence, and potential deals with Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro. Key figures include Congressman Randy Weber, who makes fiery claims about immigration, energy, and national security. Spoiler alert, Trump's policies dominate the discussion, but there's plenty of spin and double standards to unpack. Buckle up as we break it down with unfiltered commentary and a few strategically placed pauses to make sure we catch every contradiction, bias, or bold statement.
Of course, now she's in office. She's probably getting pressure from her left, probably getting pressure from her people, and she's trying to, I guess, start to waffle a little bit.
Calling Mexico's president a waffler reeks of oversimplification. Yes, leaders pivot under political pressures, but this takes conveniently ignores Trump's own shifting positions depending on his audience. If waffling discredits Mexico's president, shouldn't the same standard apply to Trump? It's bold to call out others for adapting, but let's not pretend any politician, including Trump, makes moves without pressures or strategy.
I'm a little bit concerned about that.
You are. Okay. Yeah. Because, I mean, certainly when she says that we're going to respect human rights, I mean, the whole reason that we have had a change in leadership in this country, the two biggest things, the economy and immigration, both of those stories are tied to this tariff threat. Both of these stories are completely tied to Mexico.
Here's the double standard flashing in neon lights. The speaker ties the U.S. economy to immigration and Mexico while simultaneously framing tariffs as a unilateral solution. You can't bash Mexico as a problem while relying on it as a linchpin for economic fixes. This type of contradiction makes arguments feel hollow. Either admit the U.S. depends on Mexico or stop making it the scapegoat.
Some oil executives and lobbyists are now urging President-elect Trump to strike a deal with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. More oil, we buy from them, fewer migrants, and maybe we get to send back some of these criminal gangs back to Venezuela. The Journal reporting that, quote, Maduro himself has floated a reset with Washington in his first government. So obviously, President Trump has big plans for American energy. He wants to make us energy dominant again.
On the upper Gulf Coast of Texas, we have 7 ports, more than any other member of Congress. We produce 65% of the nation's jet fuel, 80% of the nation's military-grade fuel. But our number one priority is to protect Americans. And of course, for me, our number one priority is to protect Texans.
Protecting Texans by rolling back regulations and prioritizing energy dominance, that's the narrative here. But it comes at the expense of a bigger question. How does deregulating energy and expanding pipelines actually protect anyone from immigration? This point feels like a distraction tactic, pulling attention from immigration policies to an entirely different agenda. Linking the two so casually is a classic case of pivoting without substance.
Texans, we can produce energy cheap. Cheryl, here's a comparison. Keystone Pipeline moves 830,000 barrels of oil a day. If you tried to do that with 18-wheelers, you'd have to put 5,200 18-wheeler trucks on the highway a day to move that much oil.
And here's where we veer completely off track. This pipeline argument is shoehorned into a conversation about immigration, making it clear the focus has shifted to scoring points for energy policy. Sure, logistics like this sound impressive, but what is the connection to the wall, migrants, or national security? It's classic mixed direction. Don't fall for it.
Texas has the ability, United States has the ability to sell energy, to export energy, to produce energy, if we can get the government out of the way. And that's what Trump is aiming at.
Yeah. Also, too, I just really quick, my one fear about, I called it a deal with the devil at the top of the show with Maduro. This man is ruthless. He is a murderer, and he has retained power, his grip on power, which many in Washington say was not a true election. It was an illegal election. So
Right.
what do you make of us? I mean, what do you think this relationship with Maduro?
Well, absolutely. We don't want to make a deal with the devil. And look, those Venezuela migrants, those gangs that you're hearing about and talking about, they are some of the most ruthless.
This line feels like fear-mongering on overdrive. Painting migrants with such a broad brush not only oversimplifies the issue, but also feeds into harmful stereotypes. If the goal is to discuss effective immigration policies, why not focus on solutions instead of inflammatory generalizations? Strong statements like these may rile up supporters, but they don't actually move the debate forward.
You can't trust Maduro. When somebody shows you who they are up front, believe them. He's a dictator. He's a ruthless dictator. He can't be trusted.
Wait a second. So Venezuela's leadership is disqualified, but we are fine working with Saudi Arabia or other authoritarian regimes? If it's about principles, stick to them across the board. The deal with the devil rhetoric falls flat when the U.S. has a history of cozying up to regimes just as bad, if not worse, when it suits our interests.
I recognize our oil companies very used. They want the ability to be able to produce more oil, sell more oil. I get that. But there's an old saying, you don't want to dance with the devil. And I'm afraid that that's exactly what we'd be doing.
All right, Congressman Randy Weber.
This video tries to cover a wide range of topics under the guise of immigration and border protection, but it's riddled with contradictions and double standards. The arguments are heavy on emotion and light on logic. If one side is winning, it's Trump's camp, not because arguments are strong, but because they dominate the narrative by pulling focus to unrelated topics. The opposition, they barely get a chance to counter, leaving us with a one-sided take that demands serious scrutiny. Stay sharp and don't let flashy rhetoric distract from real issues.